Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's the Uncencored Match Build Up show ahead of the Carabao Cup final. I'm Steve Hoare, joined by Luke and by Abigail for this one. Not Abs or Abby today, it's a full name. It's Abigail for this one. Yeah, we're going to talk, of course, all things Liverpool versus Newcastle. Wembley, 4:30 on Sunday. Liverpool looking to win the League Cup for the 11th time. Newcastle looking to win their first trophy in about 50 odd years. It's a big game, so I've got big guests to help me out. Thanks very much for coming in, guys. We always start by looking at the opposition. It's interesting, this one, Luke, because we just played them. And we played them at Anfield and we beat them. I don't know how much we can take from that, really, because it was quite a comfortable win for Liverpool. Newcastle didn't have their best player playing, but the quick turnaround, just a couple of weeks on beating this team, do you think that plays any part in this in terms of either manager, tactically, they know a little bit more about each other?
Yeah, I think Slot's too wise. I think he'll be looking straight past that 2-0, probably disregarding it and look at more of their previous results, because their performance at Anfield was absolutely terrible. I think Eddie Howe was keeping his cards very close to his chest. I think that was evidence, sort of. No Isak on, no real wonder why he's injured or what's going on with him. He looked poor against West Ham as well, so if he's still carrying that knock, that's something maybe to discuss pre-match tomorrow that we'll find out, or later on today. But it's one of them. He's a master tactician at the moment, Slot. He's proved that so far this season. I think he'd be looking more at their previous games and their better performances than that. Maybe looking at them at West Ham and how they set up on Monday night. In my opinion, they didn't look brilliant, but they got the win over the line, and they looked hard to get past, and sort of that low block sort of late on, last 10 minutes, they didn't really give much away. So I think he'd be looking at that sort of element of their game rather than their performance at Anfield.
In terms of form, actually, Abby, they're going into this final not in great form. Obviously, they got battered early in February by Man City. They then beat Forest 4-3. Where they were comfortably leading and Forest come back. They went to Anfield and were pretty poor. They got knocked out the FA Cup by Brighton. The game, obviously, Anthony Gordon got sent off, making him suspended. And they scraped past West Ham on Monday night. Bit of a dour match, really, where it was just
really poor
quality. They scored a pretty well worked goal in terms of a decent cross to the back post. But yeah, I don't think Newcastle are flying into this final. They're not flying on all cylinders.
They're so inconsistent. That's the thing. There's no consistency there at all, so you don't really know what you're going to get. I mean, obviously, if Isak can pick up a little bit of form and not get injured again, that's a massive thing, because him coming up against us, obviously, I do feel like Van Dijk can deal with him. He's probably the only centre-back in the league that I feel like can deal with Isak, but I'm pretty sure it was Josh on the deep dive mentioned they might throw Isak out towards the left, possibly, and then he'd have to deal with Quansah then, obviously, with Trent being injured, and that gives me a little bit of stress if they do that. I feel like the pressure's on a little bit there. Obviously, them being without Anthony Gordon is a bit of a relief, because any time Gordon has to play against us, normally it's against Trent, and the whole conversation's normally about Trent, but him being out and suspended's a massive bonus for us, I think. If anything, I honestly think I'd rather come up against Isak than Gordon, just because of the whole, not based on quality, but the whole Everton thing around him. It's like you just hate to see him do well against Liverpool. So,
he might be in the omen by you.
He might come and sit by us in level 5.
You might spot him with a red scarf on somewhere. Gordon, let's talk about that then. We will talk about Isak in a moment, but let's talk about Gordon, since Abby brought it up, Luke. Like, it is massive for them. Harvey Barnes is a good player. He's a very good player, but he's not quite as quick and electric on the break as Anthony Gordon. Again, Liverpool are going to be without Alexander-Arnold. We'll touch upon them later as well. But it would have been Quansah versus Gordon. We saw that at St James's Park, and actually Gordon got a little bit of joy in that game. And Liverpool struggled actually with the press of Gordon against Quansah. So it's a massive blow. I mean, he'll be devastated, the lad. He had a moment of madness against Brighton where he just webbed someone in the back of the head and he misses a final. But I think, Arby might be right. It's been wingers who have caused us most issues. Centre forwards, who are proper centre forwards, standing up against our defenders, of course they can score goals, but with Konate and Van Dijk, you're all right with that. It's been pacey wingers. We saw that again in midweek, really. Kvaratskhelia and Barcola and Doué when he come on, then Belly dropping out and getting wide. That can be a little bit of an Achilles heel. So no Gordon could be massive for you.
Yeah, I think it is going to be massive, to be honest, and I think we're quite lucky, to be honest. I think Trent versus Gordon was always going to be a good matchup, and then sort of Quansah versus Gordon, I'd be absolutely terrified, but luckily obviously he's not going to be there. I think sort of looking back on the Tuesday performance with him getting a bit of joy in behind, Trent, as we know in this new system, he's not as free as he used to be, but he was given a little bit more freedom by Slot, and I think that was evident in the game in his position, and sometimes being caught in the middle of the park. He was sort of given that freedom to roam, and I think that was leading to give PSG a little bit more joy, especially late on when we were getting tired. I think what we'll see on Sunday with Kwanzaa at right back, if it is Kwanzaa, bear in mind,
I don't think there's any other choice, really.
We'll talk about
outside shouts, we'll talk about it in a bit. I have an outside shout. Anyway, with him at right back, I think we're going to see it. He's going to be glued. He's going to be right. He's going to be probably given little freedom, which will be a bit harsh because I think overlapping, especially on Tuesday night off the bench, he looked really good and really promising, especially on the ball. But I think in a cup final, he's not going to be venturing forward much at all. It's going to be a very, very stable backline. I think maybe even Robertson only getting up and down a few times in the game.
The other thing that's worth mentioning as well, Newcastle, they've got Botman and Hall out as well. Defensively, they're struggling a bit. Abby, Lewis Hall at left back's been one of their better players. Really, they haven't really got another left back option. Obviously, they let Lloyd Kelly go. So it's probably they might move Livramento over, or they might move potentially Kieran Trippier over. But it's difficult. Against West Ham, for example, the other day, they decided to go at left back with Livramento. He is a right back. He's a right back playing left back. That could be something that, again, whether that's something that Liverpool look to exploit, but that's going to be effectively Mohamed Salah is going to be up against an outer position full back, and then a centre back. As good as Dan Burn and Fabian Schär are, Botman's their best centre back. Like, there's definitely something there for Liverpool.
I think the worst place in your defence to get an injury is wherever Mo Salah's going to be coming up against. I think the fear of God must go into you when you're thinking, right, we don't even have an actual left back to play here right now. I think Salah will definitely be able to capitalise on that, hopefully, as long as he doesn't really play the way he did against PSG. But obviously PSG are a much better quality side than Newcastle. I just feel as though this is one of those games where Mo's going to come out really angry, and if he can capitalise on that'd be huge, especially the way he reacted after Darwin missed that pen yesterday. He was the other day, he was the only one that didn't really go over and console him. He just looked fuming, he was crying at full time. I think Salah will be rubbing his hands together at the chance to go down that side and cut in and all that. I think that's massive for us, for them to have injuries in defence, especially with the attack that we've got. I'm sure we'll come on to who we're going to pick in terms of our attack, but when you've got Mohamed Salah there, you've got goals in your team. So
yeah, I think that definitely is in fact both teams have got different injury issues. I think I thought Lewis Hall in the home leg did about as well as someone's done against Salah, and he still got skinned, and Salah did well for him. It will be interesting. What Livramento has got is pace. Like, he's very, very quick over there, Luke. But again, he's on his wrong foot. It's a bit of an alien position for him. Now, Kieran Trippier can also go over there. But again, he definitely hasn't got pace. So it'll be interesting to see. Either way, I think Liverpool are going to try and exploit that matchup. Yeah,
and I think that's where we're going to get all our joy, as you said there, Harry. But it's one of them. I think Mo Salah's got a point to prove as well. Because I think a lot of outsiders looking in there, the doubts behind Mo Salah is that he hasn't turned up at a cup final yet and won as one. This is the game to do it now. Make it the Mo Salah performance. Make it the game you need. They're lacking on that left hand side. They're going to be sort of putting square pegs in round holes. Go out there and win the game 3-0. That's what I'd love to see. But I think it's going to be much more difficult than that.
It is worth mentioning. We spoke about him earlier though. I'll be like, Isak is fantastic, and he had a little bit of an injury. They've been managing him. He didn't look great against West Ham the other day, but he got through enough of the game before they brought him off for Callum Wilson. I'm not quite sure he's 100% fit and how long they can get out of him, but I always think when any team you come against, the first thing is how can they score a goal, and he is how they can score a goal.
Yeah, there's no way they don't play Isak. You play a 50% fit Isak, to be honest, in a final. He's an unbelievable player. I remember, was it last season, he scored an unbelievable goal against us, but it was offside. But I remember thinking at the time then, this is some player. Like, he is unbelievable. I'd love to see him in a Liverpool shirt. I think in terms of his injuries, he'd fit right in at Liverpool, because you can just imagine us going and signing and spending 150 million on a striker for him to have that sort of injury record, and whether that's a risk you can take. But I think a lot of players that are looking for a move, which I think he probably is looking for a move, you use playing against Liverpool as a bit of an audition. And I don't want him to have a successful audition, don't get me wrong, but how nice is it to be able to watch a quality player like that play live, you know what I mean? Not that I was gutted that he didn't play against us at Anfield, but I was quite excited to just see that quality in a player, someone that I would love at Liverpool. I know you can talk about injuries and whether you'd actually want him or whatever. I mean, it is up for debate, but I would like to see him in a Liverpool shirt. That, like, players do use it as a little bit of an audition, but like you've said, he's not fully fit. He looks a bit leggy. He doesn't look up to the best of his ability, and I think that's probably something that'll be a bit of a relief for us. But you never know in these finals. This could be the biggest thing this probably is one of the biggest opportunities in Newcastle's history to try and get a trophy. And he's unbelievable.
I think one of the issues that the hours is the drop off from even in like you said, a 50% Isak, the drop off from him to Callum Wilson's recently been absolutely massive. Like Callum Wilson looks well past it. There's a time in the Premier League where he was considered one of the decent strikers, you know what I mean, for one of the lower league sides, a bit like a Danny Ings. So it's one of them.
In terms of their strengths as well, they have got a strong midfield. Joe Linton's back. Obviously, he missed the game, didn't he, at Anfield, and you know he's good to wind you up and get stuck in and stuff. On that big Wembley pitch, Joe Linton, Tonali, Guimaraes, that's a midfield that can get about. Liverpool often try and overrun. I always think on big pitches, Liverpool try and maximise the space and get Szoboszlai's energy running around and McAllister. Actually, a midfield three of Joe Linton, Tonali, Guimaraes is pretty special. It's pretty strong as well, Luke.
Yeah, hi Joe Linton. Sorry, just got to get out there. Absolutely hating me. He's like Ander Herrera. He is. Honestly, if I'm putting a bet on Sunday, he'll be the first player I'm putting on for the yellow card, and he'll make 10,000. He still won't get one.
I was going to say you might be wasting your time. He had he's got the Fernandinho gene of not getting booked. Like, it's amazing how often Joe Linton doesn't.
I don't know what it is. Or he just whispers in the ref's ear before the game kicks off or something like that, or slips him a tenner. But he just seems to get away with murder whenever we play them. And that's why the Newcastle fans love him, to be fair. You know, when you've got a shit house like that,
he's one of those players that you love when they play for you, but you hate them when they play for anyone else.
Literally, you bang on, and he's gonna cause issues for us going forward as well. He's not just a dog defensively. He's been playing a bit like Szoboszlai in that terms as pressing, an absolute pressing animal. Just tends to kick people a bit more, you know. But in terms of carrying the ball and going forward as well, he really can offer something. People tend to forget that they paid big money for him as a centre forward, and then it didn't quite work out. So he's still got that sort of striker's instinct, in the back of his mind. He's just been redeployed somewhere else where he sort of made his career there now. Sort of when he come in for that sort of big money, everyone's like, this fella's a flop. He's absolutely awful. They pulled him back a bit, seen how much legs he's got, and gone, wow, we can really utilise him in this area, and he will cause us issues. Yeah,
absolutely. And I suppose with injuries, I'll be to finish on Newcastle. It'll probably be Harvey Barnes who plays on the left, Jacob Murphy on the right. Harvey Barnes is used to coming off the bench and making an impact. The other day, he didn't play 90 against West Ham because, again, he's not used to doing it. It feels like at this moment in time, because, again, especially with no Gordon, they haven't got too many other attacking options, really. Like, Asula is very raw. Callum Wilson is a centre-forward, but, again, he looked at Anfield like a little bit off it. Like, he didn't look quite at it. That could be significant in this. You know, Liverpool, in theory, should have stronger depth. Newcastle haven't quite got that at this moment in time.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, Harvey Barnes has been a good player at times, but like you've said, I feel like he's a bit more of an impact player. And sometimes with those players, when they start a game, you don't really see the proper quality, you know what I mean? I think he's one of those players that they prefer to see sitting on the bench and being able to come on for them, and that's just not really an option for them now. And I don't know, I just feel as though we'd be able to deal with him. We're a lot stronger. We're a lot stronger going forward, I'd say. I mean, I don't know. I know we're obviously going to come on to our forward line, but I mean, I don't know what you felt about Gakpo looking leggy and things like that, but I still do just feel like we've got more quality in terms of being able... If it ends up one of those where you're outscoring each other, Liverpool will be able to dominate.
It's one of them, but I feel like the way the game's going to go, it's a flip of a coin. It's either going to be one of them where it's a 4-3, a 4-4, and it's goals galore like it is between Liverpool and Newcastle, or we're literally going to see a 0-0, 1-1.
Depends how Slot approaches it, really.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be a nervy sort of game.
Oh, you think so? You'd absolutely think so. We're going to speak about Liverpool in a moment, team news and that first. But one thing I do want to mention, because Newcastle, what Liverpool have and Newcastle haven't, is like the big game experience, the cup final thing, the team you play for. Interestingly enough, Josh and Chris spoke to Jamie Carragher the other day. There's a deep dive available on this YouTube channel now after the end of watching or listening to this. Please do go and check it out. But yeah, Chris asked Jamie Carragher about that, you know, the biggest thing that Liverpool have got in their favour, and let's check out what Jamie had to say about that.
Jamie, for you then, what's Liverpool's biggest strength heading into this game?
I think it's just the experience of winning trophies, playing at Wembley. You know, I think we've got a lot of players now who've been there a lot, you know, in the last few years as well. I think Newcastle haven't got that. As I said, they played there a couple of years ago. And I think the thing of... I always felt this going into a cup final as a Liverpool player. We weren't always the favourites in the games that we went into, but you think you're Liverpool. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to win. You're supposed to win a cup final. Certain clubs don't have that. Newcastle don't have that. And it's just, it's not to do with those players. It's the history of the club. It's the badge. It's a feeling. It's sometimes difficult to explain that. And we speak about this a lot in the Champions League. sometimes a club and a badge, I think Real Madrid do it all the time, where they beat teams because they're Real Madrid, not necessarily because they have better players than the opposition. And to be fair, they've done that to us, I think, in cup finals. But I think that'll be Liverpool's biggest strength. It won't feel like the biggest game in the world. It'll feel like a big game. We're supposed to be here, we're supposed to win, and we're going to win.
Yeah, go and check out the full deep dive, the League Cup final preview. It's on the YouTube channel, like I say. Jamie Carragher joined Josh and Chris for that one. It's really, really insightful. Lots on tactics and team news and all that kind of stuff. But that point I wanted to bring up to you, Abby, you kind of mentioned it before. This is a massive game for Newcastle. It's huge. They haven't won a trophy for so long. A lot of these Liverpool players are used to big finals and big moments. That can go one or two ways. Jamie's point was, often it goes our way because the badge and just the ability to win finals, some teams just have it. The other argument is, well, it's a massive game for Newcastle. Where's Liverpool's heads at, having just gone out the Champions League? I always think that, other than when we play Real Madrid, which Jamie mentioned there as well, we always have a massive advantage in terms of this one. Like, from a fan base point of view, we know how to act at finals. We know how finals go. The players have been there, done it. The club's got something about it. Where for Newcastle, it might be a little bit more nervy. And it'd be interesting to see how their players respond and how our players respond to that.
Yeah, we've got experience. We're the holders of this trophy, do you know what I mean? We went and did it with the kids last year. So, I mean, no matter what happened against PSG, pens are the luck of the draw sometimes, whatever. We fought to the end in that game. None of the players should let their heads drop there. I mean, I know the likes of Nunez and Curtis might miss in those pens, but I think the pressure is on Newcastle. There's so much talk, so much conversation about the fact that they haven't won a trophy in that long, that it just puts immense pressure on you. Can you imagine being one of those players and going out and thinking the disappointment of not getting this? You don't know when you're going to get to another final again. Because at least for us as Liverpool, it's sort of like, yeah, we'll go again. We've got the league to go and win. Like, winning this trophy is just like a little starter for us to go and win the league, do you know what I mean? Which is definitely done now. That this is what their whole season's dependent on, and I think sometimes it depends what mentality your players have got. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know enough about Newcastle's players to be able to go, oh yeah, they'll definitely be able to keep their heads up and, go with this with no sort of pressure. In my mind, that's the type of thing that, I'd flap it if I knew that. I'd flap it if I knew that all the hopes were reliant on it and you don't know when you're going to get to another final. But whereas for Liverpool, it's pretty standard, you know what I mean? Nice little trip to Wembley. Whether you go out against PSG or not in the manner that you do it, we might be leggy. You've played 120 minutes. We might be knackered. If this ends up going to another 120 minutes, you might see some bloody knackered players that'll be really excited for the international break and might pull out of it, which I'm hoping a lot of them do, pull out of it. But yeah, it's just one of those, and I just think there's too much pressure on them, and that's just what the media are there for, aren't they?
The atmosphere, if it does go all the way sort of in second time, I don't think it will be that like a game. I think you'll just see players pulling out 10%, 20% from out of nowhere. Plus, both sides recently have gone to extra time. So
I think
they know what it's going to be like. They went against Brighton, didn't they? And then obviously we've just gone on Tuesday. We had a decent amount of rest.
Yeah.
But
the luck of the international break coming up now, it's very much to be like to these players, like, just go one more. Like, whether they've been called up by their country or whatever, you just go once more. You know what I mean? You got one more in you. This is a final. Yeah, exactly. It is silverware. I know I've talked it down a bit, like it's just before we win the league, but the league's the biggest thing for me. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's massive. To win a trophy is massive. And if you'd have asked me the other day, would you rather beat PSG and go through, or do you want the guaranteed silverware on Sunday? I'm taking the guaranteed silverware. So
the flip side to, I suppose, Luke, is like the Newcastle were in the 2023 League Cup final.
Yeah,
it was actually quite comfortable for Manchester United. Man United scored 2 inside, like, I think it was inside 40 minutes, and the game was kind of over. But in that game, Trippier, Shaw, Burn, Guimaraes, Joe Linton, all played. Isak comes off the bench, Willer comes off the bench, Murphy comes off the bench. So they have been here before. That Man United team they played wasn't as good as this Liverpool team is. It was a pretty poor Man United. On that day, I remember watching that game. Obviously, they had issues in goals. A lot of carriers played because they had the suspensions and injuries. And it looked on that day like it got to Newcastle. They half bottled that one again against the club who were even a poor Man United side. But Man United have always won trophies recently. They keep winning trophies even when they haven't. They've been FA Cups and League Cups and Europa Leagues and not too distant past. There could be similarities here between that one. Those lads have been there, done it, and got a bit more experience. But yeah, they are flapped in that one.
Yeah, I think there's an element here of it's the flip of a coin. It's going to go two ways. It's either going to be a massive motivation for Newcastle, or it's going to be a fear, playing with fear and thinking, oh, I don't want to feel that feeling again. I don't want to let the fans down again. There's also the added pressure of Eddie Howe. I know a lot of the Newcastle fan base are sort of saying, if he doesn't get this one over the line, should he really be our manager? If he goes on and gets top four, I think that's a different conversation. But if he misses out on top four and he doesn't win this, it's looking a bit bleak for Eddie Howe, and the odds are against him. I think the last manager, I was reading the Opta analysis, the last manager to win, an English manager to win a major trophy with a Premier League team was Harry Redknapp, and it was the FA Cup with Portsmouth, which is a very, very long time ago. So the odds are against him if you look at sort of a narrative and fate. Liverpool were coming into it, as Abby said, we're Liverpool. You know what I mean? This is what we do. This is normal for us. The lads were here last year.
It's called Anfield South for a reason.
Yeah. The lads were here last year. There's still a strong group of the lads. About 5 or 6 of them now that were here when we did the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. They would have both played in them games. There's a mentality there amongst the squad now. This is probably just going to be another day at the office, which I wouldn't say it's looking past Newcastle, but it's just looking at it with a different mindset of, we've got the experience, we've got the swagger, we've done this before, let's go out and do it again. Where with them it's going to be, let's play the occasion.
Well, I like to hope it's a bit like the Spurs Champions League final, where Spurs kind of got wrapped up in the whole thing and Liverpool were there on business. If they do that, then it could go well. If they don't, Newcastle have certainly got players to the hurt. So let's talk about Liverpool's team then. Moving on to that, obviously Arne Slot's press conference this morning, he confirmed what we all pretty much knew. No Alexander-Arnold, he's out. He's still getting assessed. They expect him back before the end of the season, but in terms of dates, don't know, but he's definitely not going to be available for Sunday. The issue there is, of course, it's no Conor Bradley, no Joe Gomez either, so Liverpool are without their first three choice right back. Three first choice right backs, easy for me to say. So there's something to do there. Before we get to that though, let's talk about the goalie. He hasn't really said anything yet, officially. What do you think he's going to do?
I think Nick Pope plays, and I think a big part...
for us.
Oh, for us. I thought you were on about because they were talking about Dubravka and flip of a coin on Monday Night Football, whether he was going to play. Alisson plays.
You sure?
I think it's a no question. I think obviously Alisson plays.
Do you think that's a bit sly on Carragher?
No, because Carragher didn't play the semi-final.
I'd start Alisson, but I do feel for Carragher.
I think, don't get me wrong, I think if Carragher had played the full tournament, I'd be saying, Carragher's going to play, but he hasn't. We've seen that he put Alisson in against Tottenham. And then obviously he was injured at Brighton away, wasn't he? Carragher, so he's missed that game as well. I think an element of Klopp picking him was like sort of...
Yeah, but he played them. Do you say that it was a two-legged semi-final?
Yeah,
and they both played? They played one each?
No,
Carragher played the 4-0.
Yeah. But Carragher was available to play both games and he never.
But Carragher also had that moment against Newcastle away where he lets the ball go and we concede. And I just feel as though maybe the pressure would be on Carragher a little bit more for him to play.
I don't know who he's going to pick. I'm just interested because like the semi-final he picked Alisson at Tottenham.
Yeah.
But then he picked Carragher at home. And Alisson was given the night off on that one. He wasn't even on the bench. It'd be interesting.
I would feel for Carragher if he doesn't get the start, but I just think it should be Alisson. This is a final. But then... is that the last time you ever see Carragher play for Liverpool, really?
Yeah.
Touch wood, if Alisson stays fit, that's probably the last time you'd ever see him play. Do you give him that final, you know what I mean?
He feels less sentimental on a slot than Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think if it was Jurgen, he'd just pick Alisson. He'd pick Carragher.
He'd pick Carragher.
Yeah,
we've seen he's done, he did it time and time again. I think it's... I just don't think... I don't get... Like, if he played every game, and, bar Brighton away, obviously he was injured for that one, but if he played the rest of them and Slot had been ruthless with the selection of picking him, I'd be all for it, but I just think Alisson played one of the legs in the semi-final when Carragher was fit. So that's the selection he's going to make. Plus the form Alisson's in, you can't take him out for the final like this. The fella's been in absolutely unbelievable form. He's like the Alisson, took us sort of to the 19 final, he made big saves on the way there, on the way to Madrid, and then the league winning season, he was absolutely crucial. I think sort of last year people started to doubt him, and I think that was maybe part of the Mamadashvili sort of coming in and thinking, Alisson's getting to the end of his tenure. Nah, he's still absolutely world class, probably the best in the world.
I don't know. I would pick Alisson. I'm not sure what he's going to do. He hasn't kind of tipped his hands. We'll find out in due course. But who do you think he's going to pick?
I think he'll pick Alisson. He's not got that like loyalty or that sort of sentimental value like you've just said.
Carragher played West Ham, Southampton and Tottenham.
Yeah.
It was Yaros who played at Brighton because Carragher was in the first team, so he didn't want to risk it.
Is that what it was? I thought he was injured, God.
Alisson was injured.
No, I thought Carragher
I think they just looked after Carragher a little bit because obviously he didn't want to catch any. And then, of course, they split the semi-final. So, I don't know. We'll find out. I think he'll go Alisson, but we'll find out. Right back then is the obvious question. Thankfully, the manager confirmed today, Luke, he expects Ibu Konate to train today. So, all being well, he's got a couple of days. It's a long turnaround from Tuesday to Sunday afternoon. And he said it was fatigue rather than an injury, which is good news. So, Because otherwise, if he was out, then Kwanzaa was playing centre-back, and then we'd have had issues. The manager was asked, I think it was Vinny O'Connor who spoke about it, right back, and he was like, is it just Kwanzaa or Endo? And he said, well, Curtis can play there. He said, or I can do what Newcastle do and play two left back. I can play left back there. So you'd imagine Carragher or Robertson go over there. So Kwanzaa, Endo, Jones.
Carragher will be doing good out there.
Carragher, Timakash, sorry. I mean, you never know with Carragher, but yeah, Carragher. So Kwanzaa, Endo, Jones, and one of Timakash or Robertson as options.
Yeah.
It just feels like he's going to pick Kwanzaa though, doesn't it?
Yeah, how we use it, I think he is going to pick Kwanzaa. If I was the manager, I think I'd pick Wataru Endo. He's just like the Japanese James Milner. He can just play absolutely anywhere. I think he's got sort of that experience playing in sort of a free back when he was at Stuttgart. I think put him out there at right back, I think he'd do an absolute job. But then what you do lose is, if we're winning 1-0, you can't bring him on for the last 10 minutes to just see the game out. So.
I have to have Endo on the bench to come on for the last 10. I need to, when I see him coming on, I'm like, right, job done. And I can't deal with him starting. I need that reassurance of Endo being there.
The logic suggests it's going to be Kwanzaa, because he's played
He played so well when he come on the other day.
And he done well the other day. And he looked like going forward as well.
He did. That's what I was going to say. He was going on these little mad runs into the box, and I was thinking, there's no way you don't start Kwanzaa. I'm sorry, this is a final. You've got to start your strongest, and I mean we're stuck for choices there. It's got to be Kwanzaa, and then if Konate's fit, which he should be, he goes there. If not, you throw Endo there for me, but I don't think we'll have to.
I think Endo's got to be on your bench because you haven't got no centre backs on your bench. So we'll do it around, and if it's Kwanzaa, it's interesting.
Exactly.
But you're gonna ask Gerald Kwanzaa not to play 90 minutes though, and maybe longer on a big Wembley pitch when he hasn't played. He's a young lad. He's in decent enough nick. Like I say, he's just been called up to England, so he should be feeling good about himself. But yeah, usually when you play a backup lad, you want to give him an hour, then get him off and play someone else. I mean, there might be a young player, but I mean, like we saw against Plymouth, Isaac Maguire was youth, and he just didn't look quite there yet. He's got more development to do.
We've got no options though.
Liverpool are struggling
but there's not to say what you went through there before. So he could use the double left back option off the bench, so you could see sort of like maybe Robbo or Simicast go out there.
Yeah, but Robertson looked absolutely he did brilliant. Don't get me wrong, Robertson did brilliant, but I start Simicast in this one at left back because I just think Robertson can't. I don't think Robertson can go again. I don't think he can. Listen, he's had a tough season and he's finally started to pick up a little bit that I don't think after the effort he put in against PSG, I can't see him being able to go again with his age and the fact that he's lost a little bit of... I think Costas plays 100%.
Yeah, I'll be shocked. I'm in the other camp as well. I think, don't get me wrong, your reasoning's fine. I think it's a good shout, but I think there's an element here that this could maybe be Andy Robertson's last final for Liverpool.
Do you really think Robbo can go again though? He looked
but we don't... I think Tuesday night to Sunday afternoon, that's about as big a break as you're going to get.
Yeah, but I also think it depends in terms of...
You are right, we don't know this for sure.
I think if you start and Gakpo off on the left, I prefer to have Costas behind him. I just feel like they've got a nice little link up there, and plus I think Costas is stronger on whipping the balls in. I think Robertson struggled a little bit with crosses and corners as well. I think Simicast is stronger. I think Robertson struggled on set pieces, so I just feel like having Costas there for that tiny bit of quality in terms of that.
I wouldn't be against it. I think I would go Robbo. I think he'd Robertson, but I could
you could see it.
What'll happen is one don't play 60, one don't play 30. Like that's a guarantee is at left back. Midfield's interesting. Is it just Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, the lads, like you've been saying, a few of them did look like he sort of had to come off against PSG, but you've got to start all three, and that's the best midfield. And it's harsh on Curtis as well, because Curtis has been brilliant, and he's played a lot of the games in this sort of campaign and this run through. But I think you can't take Szoboszlai off. He works too hard. Maka has too much quality. The same with Gravenberch. Just usually take him out to 6. We don't have that sort of playing out link up as we do. So
could you argue to do the 3 midfields and have Szoboszlai, do the 4 midfielders and have Szoboszlai and Jones doing that sort of false 9?
Yeah.
So could you argue that, considering the bad form when you think all about Jota and Nunez, just lacklustre, lack quality? I just don't think
start a final without a striker. I don't know what message that sends. I see your point. We did it at Villa away, we did it at City away. Newcastle, he started Jota, didn't he? I think in the home game a few weeks ago. I don't know if you can go to Wembley without a striker. I also think on what is going to be a grueling day, you're right, they're not going to all be 100%. You need options off your bench. Curtis is probably going to have to come on and replace somebody.
At some point.
Elliott's probably going to have to do the same.
I just thought Jones the other day looked so poor when he come on. That's the only thing
I
you do.
Same. I think Gakpo didn't look fully fit either. So it's difficult.
But
it's really
Gakpo's the only one that's really helping Salah out in terms of goals. And
yeah.
I understand that he didn't look great. He looked like he'd done 90 minutes when he come on the other day and he hadn't. But in terms of scoring goals, you've got to pick your strongest goal scorers. And for me, you've got to put Diaz through the middle, Gakpo on the left and Salah on the right. Because that's, in terms of scoring goals, I just think you've got to go for it, because Nunez and Jota, they're not bringing enough at all. Do you know what I mean? For a final,
I would do that. If Gakpo's fit, he looked the other day like he wasn't fit. He looked like he was running on one leg. It was a crazy, really.
So would you still play him then?
I don't know how fit he is. If they think he's fit, then I would do what you do. I would put Diaz up front and play Gakpo left. If he's not, it has to be Diaz, and then he's got a decision to make up front.
I think I'm exactly the same. I think if Gakpo is fit, I'm just not convinced he's going to be. I will play him on the left. He's also the top scorer so far in the competition. He's been putting them away in here. You've got Salah right, Diaz through the middle, and then you've got the option to change the game then. Because if you're playing Diaz in the false nine, then he's going to draw out and link the play. And if Newcastle aren't biting like we've seen with other sides do, you can take him off and bring on a Nunez or a Jota, and then sort of say, right, instead of playing short and trying to open them up, let's play him behind.
The interesting thing with Shaw, centre back for them, Abby, is that he will follow Diaz. So if Diaz does the drop off thing, Shaw, he man-marked Declan Rice the other day. He had a real mad game plan against Arsenal, didn't he? Where he was following him in, and he's done it a couple of times in recent months where he's just followed strikers around, man-marked them. So if that happens for Diaz, then that does leave space in behind for a Salah or a Gakpo. So I'm with you, I would do that, but let's just say Gakpo is only ready to do half an hour, Luke, and he has to pick a striker. Do you think he will go Jota again? Or do you think on a big Wembley pitch against Newcastle, he could go Darwin Nunez?
It's difficult. I've said flip for coin so many times in this show, but I think it's the same again. It depends what game plan you want to go for. What Jota offers off the bench is goals. You know what I mean? And then when he starts...
He should do, but not recently.
I know, but when he starts, it just doesn't seem to work for him. But then when he comes off, he seems to always just comes on off the bench. He can sort of just create something in a final game. You want to run that narrative. But I don't trust Darwin Nunez to play an hour at Wembley in an atmosphere is probably going to be the best cup final atmosphere I've ever gone to. You've got two sets of fans who are going to be absolutely dying to be there. You know, the tickets are so few and far between. The place is going to be so loud. I don't trust Darwin Nunez not to get a silly booking in the first 10 and be walking on a tightrope for the whole game. So it's so difficult. I think... sorry to interrupt you, mate. Yeah.
I think Darwin, he did start against Southampton and was better than Jota's been. I thought, again, it was Southampton, it was only the second half, and he very well could have been sent off before he made a difference. But on form, they're both actually in pretty bad nick, but Darwin's probably in better form. He had a decent game in Paris when he come off the bench. He played decent against Southampton. Jota's been off it for a few weeks now.
Yeah, but I just think... I think Jota gives you something different. I know we're having the argument of he hasn't sort of delivered recently, but in terms of it's going to be a tight game, especially that sort of first 10, first 20, get him through it. Putting Darwin Nunez in behind, I don't think it's going to be there for us. I think they're going to play for a bit of a low block.
I just don't think Darwin Nunez has got the mentality.
I don't think he's got the link-up play either, have he?
No, he doesn't, but I also don't think he's got the mentality to be able to go again after missing that penalty. And listen, as much as you've got to back your own players, you've got to protect them as well. And I just think in terms of Nunez...
There might be a reason to start him, so he is not. if it does go to pens, he is none. That might be an option,
Yeah, but I do just think, we've had times before where he's had bad games for Liverpool and deleted every single photo off his Instagram to do with Liverpool. And I just think when you've missed a penalty, he's not the type of player that lifts his head up immediately and goes straight away, goes straight again and can bounce back from that. He never has been for us. His head's always gone, and even Slot said in his press conferences, sometimes his head's gone and I haven't liked it. And I do not believe that Nunez is the type of player who misses a penalty midweek. We go out against PSG and then he bounces back in a final, and starts that game and starts it well. He just looks like his nerves go and his bottle goes, and it takes a while for him to build back up his confidence. Even at times when he's scored 2 goals to win us the game, you think, oh, this is it now. Nunez is going to go on a bit of a streak here, and then he doesn't. And it's you don't know his mentality. You don't know when he's going to hit that little form.
He's had a few times, hasn't he, where he's had a chance to sort of grab the shirt and he hasn't quite took it. The same at left back with Newcastle. He's had a few times where he could take the shirt here and then he hasn't quite driven on and done it. I think another element of sort of looking into the Darwin Nunez plan, and if we are going to start him, it's just the legs. That's all it is. Because it depends what sort of plan Newcastle go with. It would either work tremendously or it's not going to happen for him. If Newcastle come out to play against us, Darwin Nunez will have so much joy in behind because he's just so fast, and that's something that Jota can't give you. Where if they're going to play the low block, it's going to take 2 misplaced passes for Nunez, and half the crowd are going to be on his back, and then that's going to turn the atmosphere of the stadium.
My thinking, and actually Luke's writes in the chat just here, if Jota's not scoring goals, he doesn't offer that much else. Darwin will offer you the running, and he will get about. That's the difference. Yeah. If Jota isn't good goal scoring form, then I get it. But he's all right at link up, and he's okay at dribbling. But when he's in, he doesn't offer you too much. So we'll see. But I'll go back to what Abby said before. I think if he'll be desperate for Cody Gakpo to be able to give him an hour.
Yeah.
And he'll want Gakpo on the left and he'll want Luis Diaz up front. And then you'll see your Jotas and your Nunez. And maybe you might even get a Federico Chiesa glimpse at some point, perhaps.
No chance.
I'd be shocked, but he's
no
out.
Chance.
Don't hold your breath on it.
I don't know.
I think if Liverpool have 5 subs, he might not be.
I don't know what they're seeing in training with him, but he doesn't fancy him. Not one bit. And it's a shame because I've been so excited to see him get like a little opportunity to get a cameo and just no chance.
The thing is, though, I thought he was good against Southampton away. I went to that game. I thought he was really good, and then after that, he just didn't kick on, just didn't happen for him.
He had one of the worst games ever at Plymouth. The managers kind of lost faith in him as well. But yeah, I agree. I think he'd love to have Luis Diaz up front. I think if you asked him, but again, he did play Jota against them last time, so we don't know. That's all being said, then we have to do a little bit of a score prediction. I think I won't ask you straight away. I'll let the people know some information. So of course it is the League Cup final, so there's loads of extra Redmen content available for you here on the YouTube channel or the podcast feeds, as well as our Redmen Plus subscription service. If you go to redmenplus.com now and join up as a monthly captain subscriber, you can have it for free, absolutely free for a month. Just use the code UMBU, UMBU, Uncencored Match Build Up, UMBU, and get everything that we've got so far, including an Oppo preview. Dan went and met former Newcastle defender Ryan Taylor to have a chat ahead of the game. There's loads over there as well. We've got a League Cup stories coming out on Saturday morning. I look back at last year's amazing League Cup win from start to finish, Klopp's kids and all that good stuff. And again, here on the YouTube channel, you've got the Jamie Carragher deep dive. There's a special exclusive interview coming out later this evening with James McConnell. We went down to the Access to speak to James. That'll be out at 5 o'clock this evening as well. Again, chatting about last year's final and look ahead a little bit if he might be involved this weekend. And we've got a watch along for the game as well. Kicks off at 4:30. We'll be live from 3:10 on Sunday, so do come and join us all for that one. We've got you covered every step of the way, and hopefully if Liverpool win the thing as well, there'll be even more reaction and loads of good stuff for the rest of the month. There's a very good chance that within the next month Liverpool could be Premier League champions as well, fingers crossed. So get yourselves involved, it won't cost you a penny. Right then guys, I've given you long enough for stalled. Score predictions. Ladies first, I'll go for you, Abby first.
3-1 for me. I think Isak will score for them, and I think Salah will get a hat-trick for us, because I just think
hat-trick for Salah? Yeah. A final hat-trick?
I just think he's fuming.
Put the doubters to bed.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely fuming about the other day.
The Salah final, he deserves one.
I keep predicting us to win on here because I just want us to win all the time, but if I'm honest, I think it's going to be 0-0. If I'm honest, I really think it's going to be 0-0 and penalties again.
Really?
Yeah, it always is, isn't it?
Don't put me through that, please.
We win?
Yeah, we win on pens, of course we do.
I can't go through that again.
Liverpool win on penalties according to Luke. Liverpool win 3-1 according to Abby with Mo Salah. I'm a genius of a day. I think Liverpool are going to win 2-1. And I think it will be a goal from Harvey Elliott off the bench.
Oh, I like that.
Liverpool, the final. That's what I'm going to go for, yeah. Maybe that's just me hoping. I absolutely adore Harvey Elliott and I wish him all the best. So there we go. Nigel has gone for 3-1 in the chat as well. No channel available, which is a weird name, has gone for 2-1 to Liverpool. King Mo has gone 2-1 for Liverpool as well. So yeah, everyone's in good spirits ahead of that one. Right then, that is it for the build-up show. Next time we see you, of course, will be Sunday. Go and check out all the amazing stuff, and yet we'll see you for the final. To that, everyone.